It was the 1990s, and CDs were the wonder technology that could fix pretty much everything. But could it make the most expensive console more palatable to the average consumer? Here it is, yes, the Neo Geo CD, SNK's attempt to make its Neo Geo platform more affordable. The problem is that with these AES cartridges, to all intents and purposes, they're the same cartridges you'd have found in a Neo Geo arcade cabinet, and they are a hefty bit of kit. There isn't just the ROM, which holds the game code. You find that in quite a few cartridges. There's also extra memory, and, well, there could be quite a few other things in as well, including extra processors and such like. Anything needed really to make the game at hand work. So, unsurprisingly, these were quite expensive to make and therefore expensive to buy. But come the 1990s, CD technology was affordable and basically mainstream. You could cram all the data on a disc and just load what you needed to when you needed to. And so in 1994, SNK released the Neo Geo CD. Not this one. This is the second model, which came out in 1995. Originally, they released a front-loading model, but it proved expensive to make and it was quite fragile. There's also a third model, the CD-Z, which only came out in Japan, and it replaced the single-speed CD drive that's in these models and also the previous model with a double-speed one after complaints about loading times. Yep, and on that point, it's really the biggest issue with the Neo Geo CD. Games can take quite a while to load. This is especially obvious in games like Fatal Fury 2, where loading times between rounds, could be between 18 and 24 seconds. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're actually sitting there playing the game, it feels like a lot. The Neo Geo CD originally arrived in the UK at £399. Quite pricey when you consider the 16-bit market was effectively on the way out, and Sony's PlayStation was due and would retail for $299. However, the CD games were substantially cheaper than the AES versions. So, well, yeah, I mean, they're just CDs. So, CDs were always going to be cheaper production costs and what have you. They're generally in standard dual cases, although there are special ones. Anyway. The real nail in the coffin, though, for the Neo Geo CD was its complete and utter lack of any kind of 3D. Just, none at all. Whilst it was a 2D powerhouse, it really is. I mean, that's really what the Neo Geo platform full stop is famous for. Both the PlayStation and Sega Saturn were being marketed on their ability to do 3D. So a machine missing it was not going to be able to ride on the coattails of that marketing or even compete with it. The Neo Geo CD was finally discontinued in 1997, but in those 3 years it had managed to sell around 570,000 units. It's not considered a success, but that number means it's quite a long way from being a failure. And considering what the AES and Neo Geo and how kind of exclusive that console was, it was designed really for people who could afford it to buy it, and people who could afford it were far less mainstream than people who couldn't. That's not a bad number, all in all. In total, and this is what makes that number even more astounding, 97 games were released on CD. Mainly ports from AES, but a few exclusive games came out, including Puzzle Bobble and Neo Drift Out New Technology. There are even some games that didn't come out on either MEF, which is the arcade version of it, or AES, like Samurai Showdown RPG. In terms of hardware, it's really similar to the AES and MVS, naturally, but it has some extra memory to make up for the lack of what would have been on the cartridges, and also to help with caching from the CD. It is, of course, still powered by the venerable Motorola 68000, although it may not be an actual Motorola chip in there. It may be one of the various clones, licensed clones that came out. Right, well, let's take a look. My machine is not in the best of condition, which we will see a little later. We can quickly look at the front. This is 2 joystick ports. That's to cope with, joysticks, weirdly enough. Specifically, this is the one that came with it, which is a kind of a redefined pad. It's quite a nice pad in many ways, with just a couple of issues. There's also the pad that is basically duplicated on kind of the mini console that came out. Whilst this does feel like a really, really nice controller, generally, it uses a kind of weird micro switch in here, which is quite hard to get hold of. And making a suitable replacement work is quite tricky. And once they die, which they seem to do quite often, like I've had 2 of these pads, both of them had problems with at least one. This one, all 3 of them, 3 of them out, and the bottom one's working, but all the other 3 are not working on this controller. I need to get hold of some replacements and fix it. But other than that, it's quite a nice controller. It could have, though, of course, used the other controllers from the Neo Geo, the nice big hulking arcade sticks, which are very, very nice indeed. Oh, yeah, we got one. I mean, in case you've never seen one before, we can just lift this up. This is kind of the second generation of them, but they are fantastic ones, and they are very heavily micro switched, and it's all, maybe smash things up a bit more. Very nice. But yeah, it's obviously completely compatible with those controllers as well. Yeah, so that's that. Obviously here we have our single speed CD drive, a power switch there, and there's a LED there to show off what's going on. There's nothing on the sides really, and the bottom is pretty bland as well. But if we look at the back, there are various things over here. We have some composite jacks. There's an S-video socket in there. There's the kind of the multi-out port, which is similar to what's on the AES. And we've also got the really weird proprietary power supply. Although there is a couple of other devices that use similar enough ports, so you can kind of reuse it. So yeah, although it does have some very specific voltage requirements as well. I kind of like it. It's a nice big beefy machine. It kind of reminds me of the 3DO machines when they came out. This very bulky look to them, and possibly the original Xbox as well, although not nearly as heavy as that one. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice machine. There are so many really good games on the Neo Geo platform that having a kind of more affordable way to get them is good, and they are still more affordable as well. You can absolutely buy the CD variants way cheaper than the cartridge. Plus, of course, there is 0 copy protection on these machines, so you can play whatever games you want to play, and it's not region locked. So if you do manage to get hold of one of the better CDZ devices, good luck on that one. You can completely use it in other countries, and games for those countries will still work, which is slightly wonderful. Right, well, talking of games, we should probably run a few of them on here. And here we are with Sonic Wings 3, which, well, you better find out. It's a shoot up though. Yeah, we'll look at that. We get the choice of difficulties, including MVS there, so it will be the same difficulties in the arcade, so therefore whatever it takes to get your money. We're just going to go with normal. Yeah, you can also have load from memory. There's a small memory on board, but we are not going to load from memory. And we get to choose our pilot. Yeah, obviously we're going to go for the British guy in his whirlwind, right? And this gives you a brief description of how it goes, very arcade-like, which kind of shows its roots. So yeah, we can see A fires normal shots, B does your special, C and D do nothing. Right, here we go. It's very, very pretty. I mean, Neo Geo was pretty anyway, so look at that, just gorgeous. I am playing on the giant arcade stick, obviously, rather than the actual CD one. That's the reason why you can probably hear a nice clickety clack of a proper micro switches. Look at that. How gorgeous is this? There were just some genuinely pretty games on the Neo Geo. This is one of them. But yeah, it's not something that would yeah, no water fire, unfortunately. Yeah, but not something that would really carry it through to the 3D era, which was just lots more impressive stuff. Nowadays, though, I think these games will probably find favour because they're 2D's kind of back in a way. And yeah, we're just continuously knocking this guy out. There we go. Brilliant. Wonderful game. Right, let's move on to the next one. And this is Super Sidekicks 2. Yeah, so it's SNK's one of SNK's attempts at doing a football game. Soccer if you're American. So yeah, let's get straight into it. It's a Japanese disc, unfortunately, so yeah, but we'll just randomly push stuff and we'll be fine. Okay, I'll leave this bit in so you can kind of see the loading. Which, yeah, bear in mind this is the third bit of loading I've had so far in this game. It's not impossibly slow, but you definitely feel it. Still a nice animated monkey, so I'll go wrong. Yeah, it's the coin flip. A bit of loading, but only a short one. Right, here we go. It's lovely animation in this. I'm not actually very good at football games, so this probably won't be too impressive. Oh, I just kicked it. Yeah, that was me. It's nice. It's not the nicest looking game by any means, but it's good enough for a football game. Oh, I actually made some progress there. I mean, I think the referee is kind of ignoring this game a bit more than he should be. I mean, it's pretty good. It's a nice game. It moves really fast and like really fast. Possibly a bit too fast for me. And it's so close to a goal. Oh, and again. No, get in there. Come on, you can do it. Yeah. Unbelievable. Scored a goal. It's nice. The animations are nice. Makes it all these goal celebrations as well. Animations. It's nice enough. It's a football game though. Right, let's move on to the final game. So here we are with Real Bout Fatal Fury. Yeah, obviously we had to do a fighting game on the Neo Geo CD. It's an SNK machine after all. And this is one of my favourites, but it's the one I've got. I would certainly much prefer King of Fighters game. A full-on King of Fighters game. I don't have one yet. I've got it on the AES, but not on the Neo Geo CD. Unfortunately, once you own it on the AES, there's not really much point buying it on the Neo Geo CD. But maybe one day. And there you go. Once again, I started talking during a load sequence, so you can kind of see, yeah, how long it's taking. There we go. We're there. I mean, we can, you can say it's a beautiful game, but the simple fact is, SNK fighting games are always beautiful. Oh. Saw that. Right, into our final health bars. I didn't want you could even hear me over the joystick. And yeah, as you can see, there's the two planes you can move between. Uh-oh. There we go. It's an SNK fighting game. Yeah, the Neo Geo CD. It's a lovely little system. It still is the most affordable way to play SNK games on real hardware. Obviously, you can play them on many other platforms and via emulation. The fact that you can get the Neo Geo CD units for about the same price as AES units, generally cheaper though, and they're fairly reliable if they're not the original front loader, but then they're the rarest one anyway. Then it's not too bad getting it. Unfortunately, the power supply is slightly proprietary. You can make replacements and get replacements, but it's not straight, literally just getting a universal power adapter to power it. So make sure you do have the power supply with it. And the controller is obviously a bit rubbish, but you can always get an alternative controller. Indeed, things people like Monster Joysticks do new joysticks as well for it. So there are alternatives. It's absolutely worth getting a CD if you can. You can buy the games relatively cheaply, or if you don't want to buy the games, you just want to buy the hardware, that's also something you can do. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit like. If you really enjoyed the video, please hit subscribe. If you didn't enjoy the video or you have something else to say, then please leave it in the comments below. See you next time.